All right, let's watch packs because Josh is probably going to do his on stream anyway, and I'm sure most of you who care about it will watch it on his stream. So let's 1.5 Mr. Paka 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 what?
So I just made top 8 at Bologna again, back-to-back Bologna at top 8, I guess. Drew 6 hand traps game 3, which
Imagine being undefeated in Italy. That's crazy.
is pretty unfortunate, but that is my engine, so. Shout out to, of course, Sam, Team Sam. You guys can check out Spring Pro Pack 10 for 10% off the
TCX1.com, pack 10 at the checkout.
entire store. There's going to be a nice Black Friday deal coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, of course, guys, best sleeves, I use them the entire YCS. In Europe, you don't have to actually change your sleeves in Top Cut, so it was nice to be able to use them all the way through. This is like my last pack of whites, so I came in good use, I guess. And yeah, of course, shout out to, of course, my Metafy as well, if you guys are interested in the game. I had one other student who was also in Inner Circle that made top 64 at the same YCS. He played Ubel, which was the other deck that I really wanted to play, but I decided to play a hand trap deck instead.
All right, well, guys, if you want some coaching, metafy.com/pack
beating all like grinding out the hand trap wars. Yeah, and then also shout out to
hoodie,
Josh, and Nesh, Nico,
Pax,
everyone else on the
Pax
team.
got some dinero.
I actually made this list myself and a bunch of people in Inner Circle prior to the YCS, and then they also approached me saying that they're like working on something similar, so we exchanged some ideas, and that was really helpful. But I didn't really get to test with them at all, but we did exchange some theories, so definitely shout out to those guys. You guys can check out their Twitter below. And any other shouts I'm missing? Oh yeah, and shouts to Ibra for skipping the event. And anything else? Oh, and shout to Enzo for playing every night with me until 2, 3 in the morning. I think other than that, that's pretty much it. So let's get into the deck profile. So the main engine of the deck, you have 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Mourner, 3 Veilers, and then of course like 3 Ogre.
Okay, hold on. Are they first edition?
3 Infinite Permanents, 3 Purge, and I can explain the 2 Droll, 2 Nibs. Basically.
Okay, so ultimate rare, 2 ultimate rares, QCR, ultimate rare, QCR, ultimate rare, and ultimate rare.
I maxed out all the good hand traps are at 3. So like Veiler, Mourner, Imperm, Ogre, and Purge is really good. This deck can play Purge because there's like not a lot of restriction. If you draw with Ash, you just always Ash first and then Purge after. Your combo actually ends with a trap in the graveyard, so the Purge will always negate and destroy. And this card gives you an edge in the 10-5 matchup. You only play 2 Nib because if you're the way you hand trap is.
Does Purge destroy if you set it, or is it only when you have a trap engrave? Negate that, then you have a triangle destroyed. If you activate this card from your hand, can activate the effects. Okay, cool. So only if you have the trap.
You kind of hard stop your opponent, so Nid doesn't come up that often. But
Negate and destroy is crazy.
You sign the Chummies post side, so it gives you the highest chance to draw this post side.
Like the main combo their deck does is it dumps Paradise, right?
So against like
that's pretty cool.
Bell, Ritual Beast, and I played 1 fire.
It's basically just pure fiendsmith with a cash engine and hand traps.
So I had a really difficult tournament because my deck was built to be fire.
Nice format, by the way.
I played mainly 10 Pi, Ritual Beast, Sharks.
Is this a problem? Like, do you guys think this is a problem? Like, just conceptually? How do I'm trying to think, like, how do I feel about this? Like, I think this is the list here. Oh, Dinka played Bell instead. Okay, cool. Like, this is 23 hand traps. Right? Is that a problem? Like, I feel like it isn't a fiendsmith kashtira deck. It feels like it's a hand trap deck with an offensive engine. Right? That's kind of like the difference here. You've been on Reddit too much? I'm sorry, but 23 hand traps? I just don't know if that's like fun. Why is it a problem? No yes or no vibe shit? What is the actual issue? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but is it really that different from playing Labyrinth with like 20 plus trap cards? The difference being that the trap cards can be used from your hand? I guess not really. Right? I suppose that's kind of the same thing. It's a problem if Team APS Amplifier makes a video about it. True! The issue is the strength of engines off of 1 card. Maybe that's the problem. It's like the 23 hand traps are not really the problem. It's the fact that you can just go Engraver or Lacrima or Fenrir. Actually, no, Fenrir isn't a 1-card combo. Oh, I mean, it could be if you play Rise Heart, which they didn't. But just any of these cards, and you can just normal summon one of the hand traps alongside the kashtiras, and you basically just have the full combo backed up with hand traps. So I think I need some time to collect my thoughts on it. But it's just a strange concept to me, because it's getting worse. 23 hand traps and an engine. It just feels weird that there is more defensive cards than engine cards from the hand. But again, the example of Labyrinth is sort of the same thing, right? It's like, what is the difference between this and Labyrinth except the trap cards functionally are from the hand rather than setting to the field? I suppose, you know? What do you think? Apparently they have to summon the hand traps a lot. Yeah, because you just go closed heaven, and then that's like full combo. I thought TCG Format was the lowest we could go in terms of non-engine. I was wrong. The problem is that decks are getting too compact and efficient, so that leaves more space for non-engine. Every deck is a one-card combo, and the combos need to be weaker. Look at a deck like Voiceless for that one-card combo, but it sucks since its one card is nowhere near as strong as this. Bro ain't even maining Fuwa Lost, the worst is yet to come. Why did you spell it like that? What? Why did you spell it like that? Why do we have Nightmare Mermaid 2? You can Feather Lightning, you see how many disruptions there are. Kashtiras don't get to your hand traps. Because the lab engine actually has interactions with the traps. The traps are sort of engine in that respect. I mean, hand traps by nature are interaction. Literally every hand, like all of these literally interact. Just like, you know, shifter, I guess, is not correct, right? But I think you're wrong. Like, it is interaction, technically. Voices is a 2-card combo deck. It only has 6 1-cards anyway. I mean, that's still a lot, right? Ever since I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I've not seen a meta where people don't say nice meta, by the way. To be fair, you know, a lot of it is complaining for the sake of complaining, obviously, right? That's just natural. However, it is something to think about. Listen, when it comes to like metagames and TCG, too many hand traps, let me tell you, is so much more fun of a format than some of the shit we've seen historically, okay? We have had some garbage-ass problems in the format, and I'm not really seeing anything mega problematic here. You know, you could argue fiendsmith is problematic inherently because of the fact that it is a 1-card combo deck. Engine, really, that is so good now to the point where it used to be an engine, now it's just like a deck. They sided full loss because Snika Yubel played through the other hands and they needed the extra. The other decks are fine. Raizio can run 25 without that, 42 cards total. If you think hard about it, how is this different from 2010 to 15 when we used to play utility traps, compulse, bottomless, deep prison, and combo decks? I guess because the combos in those decks used less cards. Like, you know, a single normal summon of Insector Centipede didn't do all of that shit. A single normal summon of, like, Laquari setting 4 didn't get you to all of this crap. Is the big difference. Because you have 1-to-1 trades with your hand traps. Usually neg 1s, if anything. But then you go, like, +4 off of, like, these engines here. So I guess that's I think, really the problem here. So I suppose it's not really the hand traps that's the problem. It's the fact that your engine is doing so much that you just can facilitate so much more space with other cards. Unpopular opinion, I like the current Master Duel meta, but maybe because I play a degen deck. Master Duel. Hey, we found the minigame player. It's not about it being an interaction, it's about not being able to interact with the hand traps. Why do you need to interact with the hand traps, though? Why is that a problem? If you really want to interact with the hand traps, you can. You can play call by, you can play cross out. But it's not like the hand traps are so problematic that you need to interact with them. Right? They're not like floodgates, except like shifter. So I don't see that as like a problem. The hand traps have no interaction with the engine and labyrinth. The engine and traps interact. I think that's like probably the bad part, quote unquote. I think some of the worst parts of like 2022 format, I want to say, was the fact that your hand traps were defensive cards, but worst case scenario, you could normal summon all of your hand traps and make Halka Fibrax, and then that just did like a 1-card combo. So similarly, instead of Halka Fibrax, you have, you know, Closed Heaven. I wonder if you just ban Closed Heaven, what happens? I feel like you kind of just outright kill the deck. Or kill the engine. Well, at least it doesn't make it less splashable. People start playing Exaton. Yeah, Raizio just go into Exaton. Show me which Fiendsmith cards adds hand traps to hand and recycles them from grave. I didn't say that. Farfa, nothing to say. I wanted my message to be highlighted. Okay. It's not specifically about voiceless. I'm saying the one card combos need to be crazy to compete. It shows that Circular is power crept now and his stupid ass combos are going too. Did you not finish your sentence? But Plant Synchro used to play utility traps also. Yeah, but the difference is like utility traps don't interact with your main deck cards to the point where they do things with one another. Because I think a lot of the issues that people have with this, for example, is the fact that your hand traps, like I gave with the example of Halka Fibrax, become part and parcel of your main deck engine. You know, summon a kashtira, your opponent might like negate it or something, stop your unicorn, stop your Fenrir, and then you just normal summon a Veiler and then just do Closed Heaven, right? Obviously, I think people are probably going to be waiting with their hand traps now instead of negating. But even just like special Fenrir, activating Graver, like you just do full combo and end on Fenrir with like a hand trap in your hand. That is pretty good value. Do you think in the future you can play separate engines in the side as the engines are compact and extra generic? I feel like that would be the worst thing for Yu-Gi-Oh! Imagine being able to just put all this shit in your side deck. You know? Like activate Tract and then add Lurie from your side deck so that you never have to draw it. Although to be fair, Lurie's probably fine to draw in this deck because you can just normal summon it. Actually, you probably want your normal summon to be Lacrima. 4 normal summons is fine. What do you think I should play? Yubel or Ritual Beast? I'm just starting. These two are the ones that interest me. Play them online, test it out on Edo Pro or Dueling Book, see which one you enjoy the most, and go from there. I would probably not play Yubel, though. There is a Banlist looming in a couple of weeks, and there's a very real world where Yubel gets a little bit of the... slaughtering. That's very possible. So I would probably try shy away from Yubel, especially considering that the deck is very expensive. You could very well risk losing out on a decent chunk of money there. Masadu? Oh, Masadu? Well, Masadu play what you want. Ritual Beast is not new player friendly. I guess it depends how new player we're talking about, but I wouldn't argue either of these decks are new player friendly. You know? At least with Ritual Beast, as a new player, you can memorize combos. With Yubel, I think it's way more freestyle than Ritual Beast. Remember when hand traps were not allowed due to Magical Midbreaker? God, remember that card? This is why we need Hulk and Mystic Mine back. Okay. Why would we ever ban Closed Heaven? It's a vanilla. Address the cards it makes if you want to do something to it. Because Closed Heaven is the bridge. And hitting the engine this early doesn't make sense financially from Konami's perspective, so I doubt they're going to ban Engraver or Lacrima or something like that. I think it's very likely that they hit a card that isn't directly one of the reprint money cards. Who cares about financially? Konami does. We can debate and argue the value of a ban list and its purpose and its concept philosophically, but ultimately... the ban list is a marketing promotional tool, and it does not make sense for that company to balance without taking into consideration their money, right? So yeah, that's what makes sense. Banning Closed Heaven is like banning Nightmare Phoenix over Mermaid. I'm not saying it's a logical ban, gameplay-wise, mechanically. I'm looking at it from a realistic perspective, which does incorporate Konami's ban list. You know, whether you like it or hate it, that is a fact. We know for a fact they ban around the ban list. They ban around the product cycle. So that's just, it is what it is, right? Like, agree with it or disagree, facts are facts. At the rate the game is going, how long before ass traps are real and we get hand traps that trigger in your deck or extra deck? You brought up a really good point about power creep, but why did you have to use this terminology? What are you saying? You have like so many cards that can interact with the back row while you only have 4 ways of interacting with hand traps. If you wanted to interact with Labyrinth set 4, you can Dusto a Lacrima plus 4 hand traps. You can't interact with all 4. But that's a question of, like, how healthy are blowouts, right? Because I'm sure if you were to ask Labyrinth players, do you think it's fair that cards like Lightning Storm or Duster exist? I mean, I would argue no. Like, I think I think that's unreasonable. I don't think your deck should fall apart to one card. If your deck loses to one card, I think that's kind of a problem. I think that's not very healthy. And Labyrinth players sure know all about that. So, yeah. Hand traps should resolve. If hand traps should resolve, you're not playing the game, though. Look at this. Mathematically, we've got, what, 42 cards and 23 hand traps. Let's do some math here. All right. We've got 42 card deck. We've got 23 hand traps. And we have a 5-card hand going second. In order to draw one hand trap, but brother, that's going to happen 99% of the time. If you want to draw 2 hand traps, that's going to happen 88% of the time. If I draw 3 hand traps, that's going to happen 60% of the time. Bro, which deck plays through 3 hand traps correctly utilized? Not a lot. So when you say hand traps should resolve, brother, you're basically saying no one should play the game, you know? So, yeah. All the good ones? Alright, so are we just going to ignore the existence of rogue decks and stuff like that? I mean, I guess you could. Tenpai? Oh yeah, to activate Sangan summoning. I want to ask your opinion. Do you think that pile decks are good or bad for Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't know. This is, I guess you could argue, as a pile deck. I haven't really decided because this is a different type of pile deck. Historically, pile decks usually refer to a bunch of cards that interact with one another that aren't necessarily designed to be interacted with one another. A bunch of tuners that play into Halka Fibrax that then gets you into some good stuff via Union Carrier. Like, that's sort of like a pile deck. This, you could argue, is some sort of like new age pile, where it is just a bunch of good things all together in one engine. Fiendsmith, kashtira, hand traps. Ultimately, I think yes, but this is evolved into a way that I don't know if I like this or not. I feel like I'd have to play with it to really feel it out. But again, I think like the best takeaway from this is the fact that, listen, if this is egregious of a problem of the format of Yu-Gi-Oh, I think we're in a good spot. If this is as bad as it gets in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is in a good spot, right? Because this deck isn't really doing anything particularly unfair. It's doing strong things, but it's not doing unfair things, I would say. Unfair things is getting FTK'd, is getting floodgated, is getting blown out by like a single like card, you know, like playing Labyrinth and getting Lightning Stormed or Dustered or something like that, right? Like that's sort of unfair things. This I don't think is really doing anything unfair. You know, you could argue like there's some problem cards in here. Like I think Desiree is a very strong card, but I wouldn't say it's like an unfair card. Wave King Caesar, you could argue, is a bit of an unfair card. Like, it's very easy to make it. It's like a double solemn warning. That's like, I don't know. But yeah, like, it's very strong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not powerful. But again, is it unfair? I don't know if that exactly is how I would define it. If Fiendsmith gets hit, this deck kind of falls apart. Engine is what makes this absurd. Well, yeah, but that's a hypothetical we're not talking about, right? Like, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. If cards get banned, cards are no longer good. I know, but we're here now, so let's talk about now. Someone told me Ritual Beast is just Floodgate. This is true. Actually, depends how you look at it. Last season in Master Duel, the highest rated Master Duel deck was Ritual Beast, and it wasn't playing Protoss. Like, none. None of the engines. No Nemesis, no Corridor, no Colossus, no Protoss. I don't even think it played Shifter. So, yeah, you could argue that you can play Ritual Beast without it. Ice Barrier is a Floodgate deck. That is true. What do you think about these engine pile decks fixing the archetypes problems that every X deck looks the same? Now you can play X with Y or Z or both, but now the hand traps are the issue. Yeah, so I mean, like, if I was to show you, like, a screenshot of this, right? And then say, like, and ask you guys, hey, guys, I'm going to show you half my deck list. What deck am I playing? This could realistically be anything, right? The Dominus Purge could give away more info than anything, if any, right? Do you know what I mean? The Purge is probably more likely to shed light on something. But like this could be like 20 different archetypes. You know what I mean? Like just this caption here, it's generator, right? Like it could just be anything. You could say that in GOAT, right? Yeah, I know. Like that's the funny thing, right? Like historically, you could also look at it in similar ways. Plenty of staple cards have always been a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just like it's because the game is faster now that you sort of like feel it more. Where you try and play the game, your opponent goes negate, 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 normal summon Lacrima, right? Like that's probably not very fun gameplay for a lot of people. Can we add deck templates to Mastodon? I don't know what that means. Are you going to react to the Orcas profile? I don't think it's up yet. We've been having the same conversations about Yu-Gi-Oh! For the last 25 years. Nothing has changed. That's the funny thing. That's the funny thing. Nothing has changed. All right, yeah, so anyway... that's a little rant about the I don't have an opinion really. Like I said, I don't really play TCG, so I'd have to play to really get a feel for it. It's just like I look at this and I sort of raise an eyebrow when I think about the game's design and I think about the game's direction that it's going in. And it's definitely worth something discussing. So yeah, that's general thoughts on that.